What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to an exciting edition of the True Earth Debates. We're doing something a little bit different. It's a membership exclusive, kind of. We decided to go ahead and do membership exclusive for the comments, for the chat section. So if you guys want to chat it up, be a part of this dynamic, ever evolving community, then you will have to join up as a member. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't want to support the winning team, then I don't know what else I can say. So, of course, you can go over to Rockfin if you're already supporting all of the content creators over there and chat it up with all those legends. I see we got 5 of you over there, but let's go ahead and do a welcome party. We got Justin Johnson, much love, brother, and Jeremy Bird, 2 legends. Awesome. We also got Russell Gregory, Chilling, Doug Maurer, of course, Mrs. Tribune, Jess Palmer. What is up, my friend? We also got Callaway, Crusher, Admiral Dickie Bird. It is about to get real. So instead of the usual where I just go live and hopefully cross my fingers, hope for the best, I did something a little bit different. I realized that the algorithms for the TikTok are working heavily against me. So I was told that I should be doing a little bit of lives every single day with it just to kind of get the momentum going, and then we will get more different Globers. So I went ahead and gave it a try, went at a completely different time, was like, I can't remember exactly, like around 1:30, 12:30, 1:30, can't remember. Doesn't matter. Anyway, ended up getting some different people on, had a good conversation, ended up running into somebody named MasterDebator. So he's actually the first guest to jump on. It is unfortunate because when I downloaded the rewatch that we could enjoy this together, it actually doesn't show the people that are joined. So it's just something we're going to have to deal with. Go ahead and let you know up front. But we also got Lord Racer, Thrash List Smith. What is up? We also got Warnings, Skydome. Who else? Let's keep scrolling here. We got, of course, the one, the only Nuba. What is up, my friend? Lord Racer, Mojo Shop, Brian Stavely. What is up, my friend? Good to see you here in the members section. Yo. All right. So this one will be pretty easy to go ahead and get to. Of course, Plain Reality over on the Rockfin. Much love. All right, and Nuba. Perfect. All right, guys. Without further ado, I just have to actually get things pulled up. Should take me just a split second because we come prepared today. But although I will not be live debating per se, I will still be here in the comments, here in the chat with you all. So feel free to share your opinion, ask questions, and expect some responses from yours truly. So I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to share the show. Let's get it out here. I do feel like this was a pretty fun conversation to have. Pretty good entertainment value, I feel. So you be the judge. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. You guys know how it is. You get a short little look at the back end there while we get things situated. And it is what it is, right? Go ahead and full screen this. That's not what I meant to do. All right, there we go. Just playing around. Okay, bear with my little awkward intro here because I didn't even know I was going to post this when I did it, but we'll go ahead and let you guys get the full thing. And we'll chat afterwards. So stay tuned. Welcome to the True Earth Debate watch party, and enjoy.
Pile on in, but looking to have the discussion, right? Flat versus globe. Not going to be going too long, maybe like 30 minutes or so, just to try to have a quick little conversation, middle of a nice Sunday afternoon. Welcome one, welcome all. How's everybody doing out there today? Be sure to smash the like, smash the screen. If my audio's not good, just let me know because my freaking cord's still acting up. But I think that we've got it figured out for the most part. Be sure to share the show, and that way we don't have to spend too much time on the promoting part, right? We definitely want to have the conversation. Today I'm looking for the best evidence, not like, oh, this kind of means that we're on this spinning space ball hurling through space. We're looking for like the absolute best evidence that we live on what the mainstream NASA and all the world governments tell us that we live on. Should be pretty interesting to see what people come up with. It always is. Go ahead and keep on smashing this screen What is up? We'll go ahead and do a quick interact. Smiley face if you're questioning the mainstream narrative, and crying face if you just believe whatever is whatever just told to you, right? Supernatural. That's a pretty awful condition to have. Let's hope you get that worked out. Big Daddy flirts a lot. Appreciate you sharing the live, folks. Be sure to share it out. Let's get your favorite Globers in here. Let's have a nice conversation, a nice little chat, if you will. We're not going to have the fangs out too hard today. We just want to see what the best globe proof out there is these days. What do you guys have? So far, I've been hearing a lot from geodetic surveyors, just like, oh, we got this drop, right? This optical drop is the measurable curvature. And it's like, yeah, but there's things like refraction. There's also things like curved visual space. Literally been documented. So what the heck? How is this taken into account, this new information, right? Is it taken into account at all? If not, how would it affect the measurements of your so-called globe, right? Has a radius of 3,959 miles. So on the old assumptions, right, that's where we would see these calculations work. But what happens when we add some more nuance to it, right? Supernaturals, obvious troll, real truth seekers. What is up, cool guys? We do have a poll out. Go ahead and smash the smiley face if you are questioning the mainstream model, and a crying face if you just believe whatever is spoon-fed to you. Same subject every day, not even every week, maybe. Delusional. John Gordon drop. Delusional to not believe just whatever's told to you from the mainstream, right? Obviously, it's curving, right? I want to hear your best evidence. What is the most obvious thing, right? Why the heck do we know it's a ball? Surely you're not going to go back and double down to sunsets, right? We actually have observations that you can go back to, even in Globebusters, right? Just a few weeks ago, where we have a long hallway, weights on the hallway. At the end of it, pulling the camera back at the same height, you can actually see you lose the bottom. I've also demonstrated this clearly with my in my own kitchen counter, right? To the point that you guys had to say my kitchen counter wasn't level. How sad. Greatness knows what is up. Guys, be sure to smash those likes. We need to get that up to like 5K, and then we can get some more people in here. Feel free to click the box. We're looking to have the conversation. And yeah, I was on with Flat Earth Dave once or twice. No big whoop. It's actually just regular people, right? You can just go and reach out to them, and they'll reach back out to you. Pretty wild. As a flat earther, meteorites that hit the ground real? Possibly. I really don't know. I'm not going to be disingenuous and be like, no, they're all fake. They all come from planes, right? I don't know that. I just don't. So maybe they are rocks coming from the sky, right? Does it mean that we live on a ball? Only if we extrapolate an entire model from that. My Godflowers, on this very page, there is an experiment done. Have you not gone outside and done an experiment to prove your claim? Let's talk about which experiment we can do, right? Are you going to suggest I do an Eratosthenes experiment? Are you going to suggest that, any of the other breadcrumb experiments, right? Can we explain how your experiment actually proves out what you're setting to prove? Do the Cavendish. What would that prove? So what? You have two steel balls that pull to each other. Big whoop. Show me that that means that everything is going to pull into spheres. And then show me that the reason why that happens is bending space-time. Jeez. Much love, Aaron. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You just invoke an experiment and you claim that, well, this experiment means that everything about my model is true, right? So what if you have something that shows that mass attracts mass for whatever reason, right? I really don't care, right? Say it's electrostatics, say it's bendy space-time, I don't care. Show me that that pulls things into spheres. And then after that, then I'll care a little bit about the cause, right? But let's get the effect right first. I invoke the mathematics that determines it. That's actually not how mathematics works. Mathematics can be used to describe things. It doesn't mean that all mathematics are true, right? You actually have to show and demonstrate that the mathematics are true. So you're probably going to say things like, well, it works for buoyancy. It works to get the acceleration downward. Yes, you can get the acceleration downward, and you can get. They are absolutely hilarious. I actually think the Globers are the ones who are hilarious because they assume so much, right? Like, I see two balls spin towards each other, and that means Earth is a globe, space-time bends, time warps with space at great distances, and everything I've ever been told is on the up and up. Hey, thanks for the skateboard. Happy weekend. If you want to rebut this wild claim, this wild position, feel free to jump on in the box. It should be pretty easy. Gravity is a theory. Not only that, Josh, gravity is also a pseudo force now, according to mainstream science. The whole idea of like mass attracting mass is incorrect. That's actually not how it works, although you can think of it that way because it makes the math easier. It's actually not how it works. What we're seeing is a vector created from wells created from mass, right? So it's like the bending and warping of space-time, right? Which would also imply that space has a preferred direction. And I thought we were always told that there is no preferred direction in space. So which is it, right? How can we compress upon this gravity field without a preferred direction? Doesn't make any sense. You don't know what pseudo force means. That's hilarious. You probably can't define it, my friend. Gravity, is some reason, only works for solids and liquids, but not gas. There's something called buoyancy too, right? So I guess you could extrapolate out. You could be like, yeah, the gas apparently just sits on top of each other, so it actually does pull everything down, but there's just so much gas, and we live at the bottom of a sea of air. So, it's not really a super strong argument. Definitely doesn't prove the shape of the Earth. I can tell you that much. Oh man, positions of influence, right? You mean like the churches that all the world leaders go to? So funny. But yeah, we can just keep assuming stuff, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the arguments, right? We can just poison the well. We can beg the question, and we can't offer. One thing you definitely can't do is offer like any 100% positive, exclusive evidence for the globe Earth claim. Oh, we got somebody in the box. Welcome in, MasterDebator. I am probably throttled. Got the globe picture. He's ready to go. Welcome to the show, my friend.
So I just wanted to come up and ask you a couple questions about you're talking about gravity. So what is your downward force? Are you claiming electrostatics and,
Yeah, I don't know.
and
Don't care.
density?
I honestly don't care. What I do care is do we see this force pull things into spheres, right? 'Cause I'm actually not making a positive claim, except for that I agree and observe that we see a downward vector, right? And that it's the average measured is useful for equations like buoyancy and calculating weight and things like that.
Well, I mean, claiming something isn't true is making a positive claim. So
That's actually
I
not
don't see how.
not accurate at all, actually.
So you not understanding the burden of proof doesn't make it right.
I think you're
You
the
got to
one who
look into
doesn't
it yourself
understand the
then.
burden of proof that comes with positive claims. A
Well,
positive
I'm
claim
just
is
coming
the
up here.
person. Well, Master, 1 second. A positive claim would be somebody claiming that something is a certain way, like is true, right? And I'm claiming somebody who claims that they don't believe something that is asserted as true is definitely not the one making the positive claim.
Well, you need a reason for that. You need a reason for that claim to be true. You can't
That's
just
not
say
that's
something
not in the
isn't
rules of
true.
debate. That's not how it goes. Positive claim has
Okay,
the
well then
burden. That's
explain
easy.
your downward force. You
Here's the
can
thing,
because
right?
polarity is a thing
So
and
right
density
now,
is not the.
Master Debater, here's the thing. I haven't made a claim for what's specifically causing the downward force, right? What I have said is that there's no evidence that this pulls things into spheres, right? That was a positive claim that I can make, is that there's no evidence that this force pulls things into spheres that can be verified, right? You have to go into outer space land and say, well, when we go into outer space, all liquids get pulled into spheres, and that's how we know, right? That's you literally have to invoke Narnia, right? Invoke the space travel that you've never done, and that you don't know anybody personally who has even done. And anybody who has done, I mean, did they do it live? Every time that I've seen people go up and do experiments on the ISS, they always say that they can't do it live for one reason or another, which I find hilarious. So without invoking NASA or Narnia or the accused, right? What actual evidence would there be that this downward force actually pulls things into spheres?
They have live streamed spacewalks. I've watched one myself. What do you mean?
So again, what actual positive evidence would we be able to consider?
Objective truth. We can. How do you define a truth, man? How do you even determine what is true and what's not? Can you explain that for me?
So typically, in a setting where I'm trying to ascertain like the facts, I would try to, well, scientific evidence would be the best, but things that can be verified 100% by multiple different people that do not rely on authority or special type of equipment necessarily. Anybody can just kind of go and do. Right, like so. For example, when I say special type of equipment, I don't mean like, oh, a sextant. Everybody can't use a sextant, so let's throw that out. That's not what I mean. That's simple technology. Anybody can like understand how that works and then use that. You can even make your own sextant. I'm talking more of like the Hadron Collider, right, or the things that measure the gravitational waves. You and I definitely don't have access to the ability to create equipment of that scale to be able to verify that what they're telling us is true. So that I'm basically verifying this on like what can be verified. Put simply, master debater.
Okay, so well, what can be verified? I think objective reality can be verified. We can
Well, see,
look around in the
so
world.
that's circular. If you didn't know, objective reality is actually what we're debating right now, right? So to simply say that, oh well, we know, you're basically saying we know objective reality by objective reality. It's circular reasoning and doesn't hold any merit logically at all.
Well, no, we can observe it without our conscious opinion, our subjective opinion. We can do things that don't require us to be here for it
So
to be here. You know what I mean?
you're making a claim of vague unspecificity. What specifically can we look at to then tell us the objective reality of, specifically here we're talking about the Earth shape, right? What can we look at specifically to objectively know the shape of the Earth?
Well, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things I feel like we can objectively view, and I mean, the fact that the mountains appear top first, the fact that uh, boats disappear over the horizon. I mean, you can call refraction, but I mean, there's ways that you can look into that, and it's objectively true.
So let me ask you this, right? So
You can
what you're
deny it and you
asserting,
can run from it, but it's
well, just to make sure that I understand your position
there's
properly
one true
before I
answer.
proceed, right? What you would be claiming is that because of the way that we see things go down, right, and things appear top first on the horizon, right? This is the observation, right? Because we see this, that means we have to live on a sphere. Is that your position?
No, I'm saying that would infer that there is a curved Earth that we're living on. Doesn't mean it's a complete sphere, but there is a curve.
Okay, so let me walk back my comment and make it even more specific for you. So the way that things are appearing on the horizon and dropping in the distance has to be due to a physical curvature of the ground that you're standing on.
Wait, say that one more time. See, I
Okay,
think I misunderstood your question.
no worries. So what you're claiming is that the way that we see things at the distance in the far field, right? The way that we see the sun drop to the horizon and disappear bottom up, and the way that we see mountains rise from the top to the bottom as we come up on them, that this would indicate, and the only way that this is possible is that the ground that we're standing on is actually curving. Like it's a geometry problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So put simply, and I understand why you feel this way. This is like what a lot of Globers get stuck on. I actually pulled up this paper here that's really useful for understanding like the way that it is that we see. And I'm not invoking a reason why this is, by the way. This could be because our eyes are curved. This could be literally just how perspective works in general. There's a huge assumption that the way that reality works is Euclidean geometry, meaning that things that are like perfectly level with each other, you could shoot a line and it would still appear to be completely level. Well, when you actually read this abstract and you read through the paper, you can see that experiments were done to test the way that we actually see things. And where we know that there's definitely no curvature, we can see that we can get angular excess and deficits of up to 30 degrees. So basically, our vision changes from elliptic and near space to hyperbolic in far space. And at very, very large distances, it becomes parabolic. So we actually have 3 different geometries that our visual field is working within. And we're basing this assumption that we're on a sphere, that the Earth is curving, on how we're seeing things, right? Do you kind of see the issue here? So it's very possible.
So you're saying that basically the atmosphere is interfering with our vision? Is that what you're
No, I'm not.
saying?
So I specifically didn't claim cause, right? The way that we see, according to
Well, you're not
actual
really
real world.
claiming anything. It
So
seems like.
I am right now actually. So according to real world measurements, according to this paper right here, which they took steel rods, right, and they had arrows and they pointed to a balloon and they had different observers, or a sphere that they pointed towards,
I'm talking
and they
about
had
air
different
types.
observers from different points to see how it lined up from different observers. And what ended up happening is that they were able to determine this metric of how we see. This has nothing to do with the actual shape and positioning of things. This has to do with their relative position to the observer. So when something is far away from me, right, it's actually going to curve down to the horizon. And as things get closer, it's actually going to, again, do the same thing, but in the reverse. So we see in hyperbolic space, not Euclidean. Your assumption that the way that we see things set means that we're on a ball is based on the assumption that we see in Euclidean geometry, which is not true.
See, but we can use instruments that don't require our eyesight to determine that it is a curve, man. Like you're just making
So are we going to
you're
move?
like denying stuff.
Hold on.
Like I don't
Before
understand
we
what.
hold on. Before you say I'm just denying, right? I addressed your point specifically that you said the way we see things, right? You didn't bring up any other instruments. You're just talking about the way we see things right now. If we want to move on to a different proof, then we can do that and we can see what I have to say
Okay,
about it.
so I told you that I use objective reality, and objective reality is not using my eyes. Objective reality is not using my senses.
Well,
It's not
if
using
that's the
my
case,
opinion.
Master Debater, if that's the case, then why, when I asked you for the best example of an objective observation that we can use, why did you go to the way that you see things instead of something
Because
like
I can
that doesn't rely on that?
because it correlates to the fact that the Earth is curved. I can see it. I mean, a lot of people say that you can't see it with if you're not 60,000 feet up. But there's ways you can see the curve in very, very small increments. You can see it. You just deny
Okay.
it. I mean,
Well,
it's pretty simple.
before we move on to like another evidence that you're going to pull up, like maybe compressing the visual field
Honestly, I just came
or
up
anything
here
like that.
to ask you about your downward force because you
Don't
denying gravity
don't
is
run
hilarious.
away.
But
I just want to get an actual specific, um, either concession or maybe did I misunderstand your point, because you first were claiming that boats on the horizon, mountains disappearing, and the way sun sets as your
does
objective
that not happen?
evidence.
Does that not happen?
Well, no, this is explained with curved visual
Okay.
space, which you're just kind of ignoring completely.
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
So are you saying that this isn't a real thing, that this isn't a paper that has been studied out and that we don't see in hyperbolic
I'm
geometry?
saying there's probably a reason for it that I don't understand, and I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I understand it. But
We
I'm
could agree
saying
it's
that
not Earth curve though, right?
I can't because I don't know about. I'd have to do some more research, man. That's it. Like I don't really know. Like I'm not gonna sit
Fair
here and
enough.
lie to you
Fair enough. I
and
recommend you
talk on
pull up
something
this
I don't
specific
understand.
paper. It was published in the year 2000. It's not even that old. And then there's also a list of other papers too that tell you about how the geometry of bodies can change in physical space. So like this whole idea that the stars, the way that they present themselves, means that it has to be curving over the Earth. Actually, completely false. This has been measured. The way that we see things and the way that our observations are working out can be completely modeled as if we were on a flat plane seeing in a bubble. Right? That's as simple as I can put it. Don't take my word for it though. Just go look it up.
So, man, I just want to know, how do you determine the truth?
I
Get
just
back to
told you
that
before what we
because
could verify, what
I
we
know,
could
but you just kind of
100%
jumped
verify
around. But
with
I just want
multiple
to know
people.
what you use,
No, I
like
didn't
what
jump around. I
methodology
said
do
what
you
you
use.
could verify with
You
multiple
said that
different
you use.
people without expensive advanced equipment that we don't understand how it
You
works.
contradicted yourself and simultaneously said that you use science, but you also deny science. So I don't understand how you can
That's pretty
use it
far
and then
reach, don't you
deny it.
think? Pretty
Well,
far reach.
what do you? Well, didn't you say that you use science
Of course.
and you also deny gravity, which uses
So
science?
what is
So how is that
scientific
not
about?
contradicting?
So what specifically about gravity are you claiming is scientific?
It's peer reviewed. It's went through the scientific method.
What part of it?
It is a theory.
Like what part of the claim of gravity? The
What
whole
part of it?
entire, like the whole entire kit and caboodle, the bending and warping of space time, like all of it, or are you saying
What
just
are you
the
even asking?
measurable downward force that we observe?
That is scientific about gravity? Is that what you're asking? What is scientific about gravity?
Yeah, specifically. But what part
How it
went through
was
the
tested.
scientific method?
How it was tested. How it was determined to be true. That's what
You're
the
talking about
whole
the
question I asked you.
Cavendish experiment?
I'm talking about the peer review. The whole methodology of science was used
Okay,
to
I'm gonna have
determine
to spell
gravity
it
is
out.
real.
I guess I'm gonna have to spell it out for you, master debater. So the way that science works is right is that you you see something, right? So let's say this: we see something dropping, boom, downward force, right? We observe that. We set up an experiment to try to isolate the cause and effect relationship of said force, right? Where has that been done for gravity?
You're talking about, okay, then the Cavendish. That's what I'm saying. I was saying
Okay,
as a
thank you.
whole, the gravity was
All right.
used. You
So,
see, you act like I don't understand the question, but you don't understand my answer.
well, I
It's
just had to
hilarious.
spell it out for you. So
You
that's
didn't
why
have to
I'm
spell
sorry
spell it
that
out.
I
I
had to
just
do
didn't
that
know
for you.
what you were getting at. Like I'm sitting here telling you the answer that you're asking for, and you can't even understand it,
So
man.
here's the thing,
Like
right? So what I'm not understanding is how you don't understand that I answered this when you first asked it, that I don't disagree with you that there's a downward force, right? And that the average of this is 9.8 whatever meters per square down, right? I'm not going to disagree with you on that. That'd be dumb, right? We see that. This is a downward thing. What I challenged was that this downward force actually pulls things into spheres because this is the true Earth debate, and we're talking about the shape of the Earth. And you offered nothing.
on how it turns things into spears. That's what you want.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Are you serious?
Can you
It
not answer
gathers.
that? So you could just say you
Okay,
don't
so
have you don't have an answer for it.
I'll give you my understanding of it. Okay, I mean I'm not sure it's
Well,
I might be
I
using
wouldn't like
different
your
terms.
understanding specifically or your explanation. I would like an experiment that shows that gravity pulls things into spheres.
So do you know gravity attracts matter, right?
Well, that's the claim, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean that's the thing, man. Is like you can build your understanding of gravity, and then you can try to disprove it. Like what I don't understand what you want to do here. Like what's the purpose? Are
Well,
you
you
trying
brought
to
up
say
gravity. Hold
electrics?
on. You brought up
I came up
gravity
here
as a
to ask
proof.
you because you're denying gravity. What your
What do you mean
explanation was?
denying gravity? I agree that there's a downward force.
Okay, then why don't you agree with gravity? What's your problem with it, man?
I just told you. Most people. You haven't
Gravity
actually
is just a
specifically.
word
So, do you believe that
describing.
gravity pulls things into spheres? Do you believe the Earth is a sphere because of gravity?
Yeah, because
Why?
the more matter, the stronger gravity gets, and it creates a sphere. It's because it
Can you
attracts from all angles.
can you demonstrate this?
So saying something isn't demonstratable. So it's see, I don't. It's just hilarious, man. It
But
just
that's
makes
what science is being able to isolate the cause and effect relationship and demonstrate the effect that we are observing. This has not been done, and you're claiming that it has when you say that gravity is scientific.
well, we can point towards the Cavendish experiment, man. You can literally see gravity, mass attract mass. It's that simple. Like you guys want to sit here and say it's electrostatic, but ignore polarity. You want to say it's this way, but
I haven't even made that claim yet. So I mean, it's funny that you have to try to make a claim that I haven't made yet to then try
well,
to
I'm
rebut
just
that
simply
when I
saying.
stuck
I'm
you
just
to the wall on what the cause on the scientificness of your claim of gravity.
You can say you stuck me to the wall, man, but
You've
it's
provided
all
no.
you're doing is denying things.
You
You
have
don't even
provided.
have
Hold
an
on.
explanation
You have
for it
literally
without you're
provided
denying without
no
an explanation.
master debater for the third, probably fourth time actually. You have not provided an experiment that shows that the force that pulls things downward to the ground is the same force that makes spheres on a massive scale. It has not been demonstrated. You have to
I
reify.
just said the Cavendish. You can ignore it, you
The
can deny it,
Cavendish
but
only demonstrates mass attracting mass. That's it. It doesn't demonstrate that it's a radial force.
Well, it's the scale, man. It's the scale of that. You scale it up, and it
Hold on. So you're just invoking scale and saying, well, this means it makes sense. No, you have to demonstrate how it makes sense. And if it
What do you
doesn't
want me
make
to
sense on the
create a
small
planet and
scale, it
show you
doesn't make
how it
sense on the.
has
Hold on. It doesn't. If it.
gravitational
Hold on.
effects?
If it doesn't make sense on the small scale where gravity would be the most affected, it obviously wouldn't make sense to invoke it that it would make sense on the grand scale, right?
Well,
You have
Mr.
no
Tribune,
basis. You have no basis of first principles. Master debater, take a pause. Let's go, Brandon. Vikings, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on and being patient.
how are you, Mr. Tribune?
Doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. Okay, so here's my question. Why is the moon round? If the Earth pulls everything down, why hasn't the moon fallen, and why is it round? The Earth pulls everything down.
That's a great question,
Why
right?
hasn't the moon fallen, and why is it round?
Vikings, you have a horrible echo, bro. You might have to jump out and jump back in to get that fixed. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's actually a great question. Why the heck is the moon round, and why doesn't it fall? Right. So I could ask like maybe the same question of like gases, like why do the gases not fall? There's a buoyant force. There's all kinds of. So
Gases
first
are
off,
falling.
well,
Gases
there's a
do
buoyant.
fall.
Well, there's a buoyant force, right? Do you know what buoyant force is?
Yes, I know what buoyant force is.
Okay, so there you go. So not everything is falling. So with that being said, again, I don't really know exactly why the moon's
Well,
staying up there.
yes,
I
the
just
thing with buoyant force is that the heavier gases are falling. It's not buoyancy is not something rising or buoyancy is not something rising. Buoyancy is something falling. Buoyancy is the weight of one thing leaving not enough room for the weight of something lighter and pushing that lighter, giving the appearance of that lighter thing rising. But it's not the actual force of the lighter thing rising, it's the force of the heavier things pushing it up because they are being pulled down by gravity.
Sure. Well, I'll just go ahead and again make the point very clear that I haven't made a specific claim on what is holding the celestial objects in place. I have no idea. You can call it heaven energies, you can call it dark rise. I really don't know. I'm sure I can call it something and then extrapolate a mathematical equation for that, and then you wouldn't be able to disprove it on that, but that wouldn't be positive evidence objectively to anything. And as far as like why the moon is round, again, I don't know, right? It just is. So, but you would claim is
Well,
that, well, the moon is
but
round because of
you can't just say
gravity and
you
that it
can't
stays
just
in
say it
place,
just is. Okay, if I have an explanation,
but you don't
okay,
have
that
an
makes
explanation. The gravity
but I but I
equations,
but I
the
do
gravity
have an
equations don't
explanation.
work. The gravity equations don't work, so no, you don't.
I don't even know what the gravity equations are, but I
So
don't
how
need
can
them.
you claim that you have an explanation?
Um, because it's actually pretty easy to deduct using just thought experiments.
Okay, so a thought experiment is not empirical proof of anything, right?
Uh,
It's
well,
certainly not scientific.
sure, there are many thought experiments that are scientific.
By definition, a thought experiment cannot be scientific. Science is a process, a method that produces an experiment. So, how can a thought experiment um, be an experiment, right?
Well, we do
Yeah,
have theoretical science,
Theoretical
so
science is by definition pseudoscience.
thank you. It's not science, exactly. Gravity
that's
is a
not
theory.
necessarily true.
That is
What's
100%.
pseudoscience?
It's by definition true because anything that doesn't go through the process of
Thank you.
looking at an observation, creating a hypothesis, creating an experiment to test a
That's
cause and effect
repeatable.
relationship that is repeatable for that hypothesis, if that
Mhm.
hasn't been done, but it is claimed that it is science, then that is by definition pseudoscience. So
Thank you.
theoretical science, by admittingly not engaging in that act, right, by only engaging in thought experiments and mathematical models, they
Thank you.
admit that they are pseudoscience.
Exactly. Yeah, and
That's
also,
not
can
true.
anybody
Mathematical models
explain why
are
gravity
provable and
allows
repeatable
things to go up also and not just down?
because there are forces that we can invoke that
Well,
can
who's
defeat
we? We're talking
gravity.
about gravity here.
Humans, humans. Okay.
Oh,
For
well,
instance,
that's manipulation.
the lift of a bird's wings is strong enough to defy gravity.
Well, how
Okay.
about a balloon, a helium balloon? Why does a
When you have
helium balloon rise? It's density and mass can
because the
explain.
air around the helium balloon is heavier.
It,
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna
Why
get
does a bubble in the water rise? A helium balloon is just a bubble in our atmosphere.
1 second, let's go. Master Debater, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you engaging and having a respectful conversation, man. You're welcome anytime.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Peace.
Yeah, explain,
You ask
we
why a
can
helium
explain.
balloon rises. Why does a bubble in water rise? It's gravity.
Exactly.
It's
We
because
can.
the water is being pulled down. It's not because the bubble is being pulled up. It's because the water around it is being pulled down by gravity.
Okay, explain the helium balloon thing. So why
I
does
just
gravity
did.
allow that to go up and not down? We can
I
explain
just
that
did.
with
Why does
density and
gravity
mass.
allow a bubble in the water to go up? It's the same physics.
Yeah, no. You're explaining why
Why
one
does
goes
why does
down.
a bubble in water?
Why
Why does
does
a bubble
gravity
in water
allow
go up?
even the bubble to go up?
I
The
think you guys are
balloon
going
to
to
go
have to
up.
agree to disagree.
Yeah, why does we can explain it with density and mass why
What's
things go
heavier, the
up and
water?
down,
What's
but with
heavier, the
gravity we
water?
can only
What's
say it
heavier,
goes
the
down.
water or the bubble? What's heavier, the water or the bubble?
That's density and mass, but gravity doesn't. Density and mass is science, which we agree on. But the whole gravity thing, it only explains when things go down. It can't explain. There's no explanation of why things go up with gravity. There's no explanation of why
So
things go up.
Why does the
Then
I'd
bubble
you
like
have
go
to
to.
up?
use
You haven't
density and
told me why
mass,
the
which is
bubble
okay,
goes
which
up
is
in
science.
water.
Then you have to use density and mass to explain your gravity theory, and it's
Why
just a
does the
theory.
bubble go up in water?
Density and
So
mass,
there's
it's
a big.
lighter than the
No, that's
environment
not an
around
Hold
it,
on,
answer.
so it's
That's
not
not
hold
going
on,
to
density and
guys.
rise.
matter is not an
Hold on.
answer.
Wait a second.
Why does it go up?
Wait.
Density
I'm
and
gonna
mass.
help. I'm gonna help out with this because I can
Okay.
bring us to a common ground. All right.
Yeah.
And Bill Kings, what the question that you're asking, just so you know, it brings up a split that was even within the flat Earth community, right? Because there was the split of like, is there actually a downward vector that sets the direction of density and mass, right? Or is it just density and mass intrinsic? And when you think of it, to me anyway, and this is my opinion, feel free to disagree, it is intuitive that there is a force that sets the direction that density and buoyancy decide to set. So, like in other words,
Yeah.
density and mass 100% have a lot to do with it. That determines like the rate and the order that things stack up. But there still has to be something that is pulling down or pushing down, just some force down, a vector downwards that is creating that overall vector for things to set. That's my opinion. So I do tend to agree with Lesko on the buoyancy thing. On it's just the water being pulled down around the bubble, but it is an enclosed area, and that brings in a whole nother aspect of the debate. But before we go on, I will.
Exactly.
I will welcome Stefan to the show. Thank you for coming on. We don't have too much longer to go, probably like maybe 15 minutes or so, but we should have plenty of time to have some great conversation. So welcome to the show and feel free to take the floor.
Thank you. So I was wondering, is everybody familiar with the concept of center of mass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you agree that if material is attracted to the center of mass, it will approach a sphere?
If
Yes,
material
absolutely.
is attracted to a center of mass, then it will form a sphere.
It will approach to it. Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that on its face, right?
Yeah, and it's an excellent question because like a lot of people also ask, well, why are bubbles spheres? And Newton's answer to this question would have been, well, if you want a uniform shape with the least amount of energy, you want the sphere. That way you're not wasting energy on things like edges and corners and so on.
Go on.
I mean that was pretty much it, really.
Sure.
I wasn't sure if anybody had any questions.
Yeah, my only issue with and I definitely get what you're trying to say. Like, okay, if we can show that gravity is something that pulls towards like a center of mass, then we can show that if we imagine that we're a bunch of mass in a void or in something, right? I'm not even going to make a claim to like what that is because it doesn't really matter, right? But if we make a claim that mass in something would form a sphere, and that Earth is that mass, then yes, I could see how you could come to that conclusion. But it does have assumptions in it. And the problem that I have with it, and I like that you brought this up because it isolates like the nature of the downward force that we're talking about. So this is where it does become important to like differentiate, I guess, globular gravity versus flat Earth or true Earth gravity. because all true earthers assert is that there is a force that is pulling downward, and then you can also extrapolate that a force, if any, if there is another force that's pulling things into spheres outside of the Earth that we're seeing, which I don't think that we have that unless you invoke water, which we can explain with surface tension. There is still the
I think it's
force.
funny that flat Earth and true Earth are interchangeable. You think?
I do, but that's my opinion, right? You're free to
Okay.
disagree with that. If and there are plenty of people, by the way, who come on and assert vehemently that the globe is the true Earth, and you are free to do so as well. It's a free speech platform within reason, as long as you're not interrupting, being a arse, and character attacking. Then I'm not going to kick you, right? We just have pretty basic rules
Respect
of
that.
common decency. But yeah, so again, to make it simply, Stefan, what you would claim is that gravity is only pulling towards a center of mass. And for one, I'd need to know how you got to that conclusion. I'm sure that there's some experiment or something that you could point out. But then I would ask how we actually isolated that force.
So
Gravity
I would
moves
say it
exactly the way
averages
light
out,
does.
which is why when we see like smaller masses like asteroids, they're not perfect spheres, right? But as mass continues to accumulate, we see it sort of average out to a sphere.
Well, you're talking about celestial observations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have
So,
you really seen asteroids though, or is this just in the movies and TVs? Have you really seen the shape of an asteroid? Or
Yeah, I
just
mean, so Professor Nixie does live astronomy, and he showed some meteors. He caught some on film.
all right.
yeah.
That's cool.
I would give you that there's things in the sky. I just I've never seen a thing in the sky gradually turn into a sphere, and even if I did, to then say that we are like the things in the sky is that's where we beg the question, right? That's where we have to reify and assume the solar system model to even be able to get close to that realization, right?
Why is everything in the sky round? How come there are no square planets, or how come we don't see like a flat anything?
Don't know.
Oh,
Don't know.
that brings up an interesting
Yeah.
Is everyone familiar with how we discovered that Saturn's rings are made of little particles?
No, and
So,
I find a hard time believing the story.
It reflects light.
Well, so it was like Maxwell who was able to show that if it was solid matter, then that matter would clump up into sort of like a moon-like shape on one side of the planet. And if it was a fluid, then that fluid would congeal into spheres. And so the only one that worked mathematically and aligned with what we see was that Saturn's rings were made of little particles. And then several years later, they were able to probe deeper and confirm that, yes, it is indeed made of little particles. So,
Yeah, but
I mean,
even
that's
if
what I see. It seems like the math works and it aligns with what we observe.
even if the so here's the funny thing too, like when you say it's made of like little particles, why wouldn't those little particles start clumping together due to gravity, right?
They are.
What
They are
keeps them
clumping together.
in their you'd say it just hasn't been enough time yet?
Yep. There are. Well, we have another planet whose
we invoke
rings.
we invoke scale and
Yeah.
time and an entire model to then be able to say that we are indeed a sphere in the sky as well.
Yeah, of course.
Look what.
You've heard it here, guys. Yeah, of
All right.
course.
Yeah.
That's what we have a
You
hard
know.
time following that.
Yeah. You know what got me down the rabbit hole too is when I first seen something of the sun angles. That's when I realized the sun wasn't as far as they said it was. Because if you
Well,
can
how far
just
is the sun?
You can measure the parallax.
if you just take a picture, it was first you take a picture. If you see the sun beaming through the sky and you see those angles coming through the clouds, landing down at the ground or the ocean or however.
Yeah,
I
that's the
wish I
same
could show a
effect
picture
railroad
right now.
tracks have. That's the same effect railroad tracks have, and they're perfectly parallel. They never meet.
But light can't just light has to come from one source though. We're not talking
Yes, it
about
does come
railroads. I'm
from one
talking
source.
about
It
light.
comes from the
Light.
sun that's
Let me finish,
93
man.
million
Just let
miles
me finish
away, and
my
all
statement.
those light rays are parallel.
Let me finish my statement here. Just Jesus. Man. Light has to come from one source. The one source, the sun up there. Now, if you look at the angles from the clouds coming down to the ground or the ocean or whatever picture view you can actually measure using the distance from one end of the light to the next end of the light on the ground to the top point like a triangle, and then Pythagorean theorem or whatever, you can figure out how far the sun is, and that's when I
Oh, okay.
realized
Pythagorean theorem. How high is the sun?
Matter of fact, I do the math. Whatever it is, I'm just telling you,
Well,
it's
we
not
did
93
the math. It was
million miles away,
we
though.
did the math. It turns out to be
So
93 million miles.
Yeah,
yeah,
no. It's not
did you
Actually,
use
it's
a
been
second observer
I,
so that you can measure the parallax? Because that's generally how it would work. You would either use a second observer or you would wait until Earth moves along its orbit.
Yeah, we all have our own visual field, though. This has been measured. It doesn't have anything to do with Earth curvature, so observers would see the sun in different locations.
mm,
The position of the sun doesn't actually prove the shape of the Earth, and I don't know why the globers and flatties get stuck on the way that the light comes in at the sun, right? Because objectively, right, regardless of if it's small and local or really far away and huge, right, objectively, the sunlight has to converge to the sun. That's just what it has to do, right? So there's no really sense arguing back and forth on if it's converging or not, because it does. We're just arguing on like the degree of convergence, I guess, and then like how much that can be measured. But even that can be thrown off by things like refraction, and it doesn't take into account this right here. Everything that you guys are talking about is assuming Euclidean geometry, which was an assumption for a couple thousand years, if you agree with the mainstream timeline. But we now know, based on real world observations and measurements, that that's not how it works. And you don't just need this paper to be able to prove that. There is a real world observation that we have called anti-crepuscular rays, which is basically when around sunset you can see the beams of the sun diverge away from the sun, come over your head, and then converge back on the other side of the horizon. um, this is explained apparently because we have our own visual field of hyperbolic space. So in other words, we have our own like dome of vision, if you will.
Could I maybe elaborate a bit on that? So, I would say that you could still work out a lot of problems using Euclidean geometry. I'm sure maybe everybody learned like law of cosines, and we also have law of cosines for elliptical curves and hyperbolic spaces. And so, yeah, when we get into like more advanced physics, like general relativity, it's no longer Euclidean. But I would say you can use Euclidean geometry to work out many problems.
So I agree with you, and especially the problems in near space, definitely so. But when you start dealing with further out distances, you start to deal with increasing degrees of angular excess and deficits. So, and this has to be taken into account, which it never is when we're talking about the shape of the Earth.
But I have a question for BI Kings, or is that BL Kings? Oh, okay,
Go
BL
ahead. Go
Kings.
ahead. Yeah.
Approximately how high up do you think the sun is? Is it like 100 miles up? Is it a couple of thousand miles up? Where do you think it might be?
Probably the way it looks on camera and just regular, like seeing videos of how, where the sun is. If you just take a telescope, I wish I could show some videos of people using their telescope, but maybe a few miles higher than the clouds. It's not 93 million miles away. I
Okay,
don't think it's 93 million miles.
so the clouds are about at most
Because
3 miles high.
yeah, because
Okay,
if
so
it was 93 million miles away, how could even clouds block this sun? This large, like how could it even? It'd be so large that it would go around these clouds. It'd be so large, like it has to be close enough to the clouds for the clouds to even block it. Like it can't be
um
93 million miles
a
away, so
a
large.
small lower cloud can block a larger higher cloud, right?
Boom.
Nah,
Yes, they
Yeah.
can.
So
yes, it
when
can, but you
So are you
really,
familiar with like inverse squared laws? How like if
you
I'm, let's say, one
with what?
unit away from, if I have like, let's say, a ball of light, right? And I'm one unit away from that, and I have, let's say, a lens that captures light. If I go to 2 units away and I want to capture the same amount of light, I now need four of those lenses. If I'm 3 units away, I need nine, four
He's
units
not
away,
going to understand
16,
that. He's not
etc.
going to
So there's
understand
an
that.
inverse square relationship there.
He's not going to understand that. Black Kings, look at a building that's far away, okay, and put your thumb at
Mm-hmm.
arm's length right in front of you. Can you block the building?
Yeah, you
Okay, you
can
can block
block
the
the.
building, right? That building's huge. How do you
Mm-hmm.
block it with just your thumb?
Because
It's called
because my
perspective.
eyesight is real close to it. And, like,
Right,
You guys
exactly.
may
Your
be
eyesight is
inclined.
real close to the clouds.
You guys maybe inclined to say that blockage is caused by curvature, when
No, it's
waves
not.
in the foreground block boats in the background.
No, I'm just trying to point out something that he's not understanding. Well,
No,
my
no.
point is this. My point is this. Okay, so you're saying, let's say the sun is what? Let's say 100 miles above the Earth, right?
Sure. Go ahead.
Let's say the sun is 100 miles above the Earth. How can people in New York and people in Los Angeles see the sun at about the same height at about the same time if it's just 100 miles above us when LA and New York are 3,000 miles apart? How can somebody in LA see something that's just 100 miles above New York?
It's the vision of up. It's perspective. You can see more going visually up. Like going down to parallel on the ground, you can't see that far. The further you look up, you can see further and further.
All you're doing is telling us how little you understand, bro.
Bro.
Okay, so anyway, it's 1:30 over here. It's about time for me to wrap it up. We're going to go ahead one more time through the panel, let everybody make one last little point, and then I'm going to say my piece, and we'll go ahead and get on out of here. But first, I will remind everybody that typically, although not this time, you guys are special today, typically we do have these streamed over to our Rockfin and YouTube account, so you can catch the entire conversation if you're joining in late. There's a lot of times I've jumped into these lives late, and it's like, dang, I missed the whole freaking thing. So you guys can catch the whole thing. Just go look up Troubling Tribune. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys for the likes and the followers and all that good stuff. With that being said, let's just start from the bottom. Let's go, Brandon. Take it away.
Hey, man, just love each other. Love each other and be good to each other. No matter what people believe, we are more alike than we are different. Never forget that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Yeah,
said.
no hate here, everybody.
That's
Yeah.
all I want to say.
Yeah, I love everybody. Yeah, I'm glad this panel isn't so negative. We have different views, but I love each other. It's not the main thing is about this whole thing is not be divided. We get on here to actually connect with different people. It's amazing being on this app. So I love it. It's just not hate each other. That's all. Let's move forward.
Yeah, if somebody has the opportunity to save your life, they're not going to ask you your opinion about the shape of the Earth first. They're going to save your life.
God, I hope
Exactly.
not.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
God, I hope not.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
know, right?
All right.
I don't give a damn. It's globe today.
It's super funny.
I'm
just kidding. No, I agree with that sentiment 100%. Stefan, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I did want to say that I don't think our senses are very good measuring instruments. I think that we can demonstrate that with like optical illusions. But if you do make a measurement that doesn't seem to align with the scientific community, like I would love to see that. I think that would sort of revolutionize our understanding. That's all.
Awesome.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
always good to look for things that are trying to shake the status quo. But though you should know that when it comes to like publishing things, I've heard from people who have tried to get papers published that it is what's the best word I'm looking for? They use the staircase method oftentimes, where they're just throwing it down the stairs, and whichever one makes it down to the bottom is the one that they're going to publish, unless it disagrees with the mainstream of that day. You pretty much have to wait for the scientists of the day to die for the new ideas of the new scientists coming in to be able to make any real changes. So I think we're seeing that now, as we're seeing us kind of drift away from general relativity, as we understand more and more that there's just too many problems with our assumptions and the Big Bang, and it's actually 16 assumptions that the Big Bang makes, go figure, that they get wrong. So super funny there. We're still trying to find a working model for all of physics. There's like 8 different ones that they're tossing around. None of them get all of the predictions right, but they're still trying nonetheless. I personally believe that they're holding on to certain things that they don't need to hang on to. But this will bring up a discussion for a whole nother time. So if you guys haven't followed already, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned. More conversations like this will be had and more. So we appreciate you. With that, I'll bid you all adieu. Thank you for joining. Until next time. Actually, catch me later today.
Alrighty, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. It's just going to be announcing Globebusters. So, but that show already happened. If you guys don't know, definitely go and check that out. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Appreciate you guys tuning in. What a fantastic debate that was, right? That's what happens when you can actually focus and I'm not managing multiple different streams at once. I can actually address the argument at hand, right? I feel like it was pretty fun. So anyway, let's do a quick shout out. I'm not trying to be staying up super late tonight, so it was just going to be a short one. But it doesn't mean that I love you guys any less. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Right, we're going to be trying to produce even more content. I'm thinking this might be the way to go, though, because there was hardly any audio issues except for like 2 there at the end. Excuse me, but all in all, I think this was pretty smooth. Anyway, Justin Johnson, Anson Howard, Jeremy Bird, Thrash List Smith, Nominal Lord Racer. Let's scroll up. Who else do we have? Lots of legends. Be sure to smash the likes on your way out. We got 68 viewers, and we don't have 68 likes. So that's crazy to me. I can't think of any reason why that would be. Remember to share the show as well. That's actually super important because you know that YouTube doesn't promote us that well. So let's go ahead and try to get the word out there. When somebody who's of the normal mainstream persuasion, who hasn't really had a lot of exposure to these debates, sees something like that, it can help, open their eyes a little bit to being able to, look into things a little bit more. So we also got Shifty Eyes Shady. Much love, my friend Justin Johnson and Admiral Dickie Bird, of course. Shout all you guys out earlier. Pretty sure all that and more chilling. If I miss you guys, I apologize. Let's go ahead and shout you guys out. In the Rockfin as well, we got Plain Reality and Nuba. Awesome. You guys did a whole bunch of back and forth. To the 12 of you over on Rockfin, we love you. All you guys who have memberships that are helping support the show, we love you as well. We appreciate it. Please continue to be praying like you guys are praying because it's definitely working. Things are starting to turn around in my life rapidly. And I can't thank you guys enough. So with that being said, if you guys do want to show any support, feel free to hit the GoFundMe that was set up by Jeremy Bird. Much love. Apologize, getting late, starting to get tongue twisted. Probably should hop off before I make a fool of myself. But I will see you guys. What is today? Sunday? It's tomorrow. Yep. We're going to be doing an open panel. Might be doing the split platform again. Not sure yet. You guys let me know in the comments of the video after this is all said and done if you guys would prefer to do the platform like we did before, where it was half TikTok, half open panel, or if you prefer if we just do all open panel. Go ahead and make your voices known. If you don't vote, right, then how can I know what direction to take it with your consideration? Right, we do appreciate you. We do love you. King Shin, you are way too late. But hey, feel free to catch the show, man. Leave a comment. We do appreciate you. Anyway, Callaway Crusher, you as well. Didn't see you in the comments too much, but that is all good, my friend. Was a good show. So let me go ahead. I can't believe I didn't do this already. I always do this. I always get caught up in talking to you guys that I forget to actually pull up the music. But until next time, peace.